Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. Man, it's good to have you along. But before I get to completely non-sports related news, also known as the normal open to this show, I couldn't let this pass by without a mention. Last Friday night, Golden State Warriors guard Klay Thompson lit up the Sacramento Kings for a new NBA record 37 points in the third quarter. That's an incredible 3.08 points per minute. The previous mark for most points in a quarter was 33. For the night, 33 of Thompson's points came via the three-pointer on his way to a career-high 52 in the Warriors' 126-101 victory. Now, for what gets you to tune in each and every week, if you're sick of snow around here, get this. Police in one of Norway's southern districts sent out a tweet recently saying they've been inundated with complaints from people who say that winter weather is making them late for work, preventing them from getting their morning newspaper, and other general inconveniences. The officers further explained that those reports would not be prioritized. A spokesman told a news source that, quote, people just have to accept that they live in Norway and it will snow, end quote. But it could be worse if you live in Venezuela, evidently, according to a new analysis by the Cato Institute. Based on unemployment, inflation, and lending rates, not snow, the Latin American country is the most miserable in the world. I wonder if the fine people of Venezuela realize this show is available on the World Wide Web. I'm certain my smiling face would be sure to at least knock them down to number 2. Ahead on the Shogun International, the smiling faces of 3 county basketball head coaches and more, starting with Heritage Academy's Mike Kidd when you come back.
Premier Martial Arts offers the best fitness fusion. Get Premier results with Premier Martial Arts.
For over 25 years, Tony's Pizzeria has been serving authentic Italian cuisine. Open daily for lunch and dinner. Stop by today and enjoy one of their many house favorites, made fresh from scratch daily, in the newly expanded and remodeled dining area. Serving a full liquor bar, beer, and wine, Tony's 50-person banquet room is perfect for your next celebration. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Come see what's new at Tony's Pizzeria Restaurant and Grill, 10 East Salisbury Street in Williamsport.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and we continue now with boys basketball, and in particular, Heritage Eagles basketball. And joining me is head coach Mike Kidd. Welcome back to the show, Coach. Good to see you. Your team off to a great start this season. And I think sometimes, coaches get way too much credit for things when things go well.
Absolutely.
And they get, they get too little at times when things are going well beyond what you might have predicted before the season started. And I think still, when you look at the Heritage roster, and amazingly, I think in particular, Friday night's game against Grace, 2 teams right there at the top of the MDCC. Your team gets the win there, but you look back at the box score, there are only 4 players who scored. Not a whole lot of depth for this Heritage team, but only 2 losses to this point. How in the world have you been able to make this happen?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. When we look back at the season, when we look back at the Grace game, that is a challenge, how we're going to fit those pieces together. And we do rely on a couple of our seniors. We have 3 seniors that are contributing heavily. Yet there's other guys that are stepping in and playing very pivotal roles. They might not be called upon to score a lot, but they have to do great things for us as far as playing defense, rebounding, ball handling. So all those pieces have to fit together. And so far that formula has worked pretty well. We have work to do, but we're getting there.
What have you found over the years in terms of your experience of coaching that sort of resonates with kids to get them to play the roles that you need them to play for the team to be successful?
I think that in the past we've worked with the kids a lot on their individual skills, and we work with them to play hard and stress the importance of the team chemistry, and try and put the kids in positions where they can be successful. If we, know a kid can shoot well we're going to try and, get him shots. If the guy's a great on-ball defender, we're going to try and put him in that position. So I think a lot of it's working with them, seeing where their talents lie, and trying to put them in a position to be successful.
Now, Friday night's game against Grace, a 67-64 win for Heritage, sort of an atypical Heritage game for this season in terms of all the points that were scored in that game. Defense has really been a calling card for your team this season. How happy were you with the result of that game? Obviously, a win's a good thing, but beyond that, how do you assess that game?
Well, it was an unusual game because if we're in the 60s and somebody can score 60-some points against us, we're typically in trouble. And so we don't mind a game being low scoring. We don't mind a game being somewhat ugly, if you will. So we had to scrap because Grace has a very solid team, and they did a good job, and they were able to find ways to score on us. And so we had to battle back. But we had our three seniors had I think 62 points combined, and did a great job, coming back. It was play after play. I thought both teams played at a high level, and it came down to a couple situations at the end, and we were fortunate to be able to remain composed. We did turn the ball over a couple times late. We missed a couple free throws, but yet at the end, we had the poise to be able to pull it out. And so, in spite of the high-scoring game, our guys, were able to come through.
Yeah, right now, 4 teams with 2 losses in the MDCC. So it's your guys, Grace, Broad Fording, and also Faith right now. So things getting very interesting with the games kind of dwindling down here at the end of the season, and seeding, of course, on the line for the upcoming MDCC tournament. Let's get back to Friday night, and let's talk about some of those guys. First of all, Nate Patey, a tremendous season that he's having. I think it's flying under the radar a little bit. 29 points on Friday night, but if you look at what he's done all season long, this is sort of what he's done.
Absolutely. Nate, he's one of those role players that we had in the past. We had Alex Cosner, 2-time Conference Player of the Year, carrying the load, a lot of the scoring load in the past, and Nate, was in that rebounding, defending situation. Now he has to do a lot more scoring. We're looking to he and Chris, a couple of the other guys for the scoring, and Nate really stepped up, had his best game of the year Friday night. I think he was 13 for 16 from the field, but he's made a tremendous leap forward this year, and is doing just a great job and helped carry us Friday night as well.
Yeah, averaging almost twice as many points as last year, and is the county leader in rebounding average right now. And talk about, or you mentioned Chris Harrell, who last year, or coming back this year, is the leading returning scorer in the county. But he's been called on to do some other things this season too. How has he adapted to those roles?
Well, for Chris, he leads in a lot of different ways. He is going to be handling the ball a lot for us, which takes away from your scoring opportunities some. He's had to pick up, defensive matchups. He's had to play maybe one of the leading go-to guys from the other team. That takes a little bit out of you. But Chris has handled that well as being a leader to these younger guys on the team. And so scoring down a little bit, but he's still contributing mightily.
And Cullen Knipe, the other senior, had 12 points on Friday night. And again, you need all hands on board in order to be successful this season for sure. Right.
Cullen, our third senior, has done a good job for us, and he got some big rebounds, some key buckets. He also hit the winning shot Tuesday against Faith. A shot with 6 seconds left in the game to put us ahead by 1. So he's been able to contribute for us as well.
13-2 right now, and really when you look at it, 5 points away from being 15-0. I think just a tremendous job to this point, Coach, and wish you the best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, Wes. Appreciate it.
I'll be back right after this, continuing with St. Maria Goretti head coach Matt Miller in just a moment.
For over 25 years, Tony's Pizzeria has been serving authentic Italian cuisine. Open daily for lunch and dinner. Stop by today and enjoy one of their many house favorites, made fresh from scratch daily, in the newly expanded and remodeled dining area. Serving a full liquor bar, beer, and wine, Tony's 50-person banquet room is perfect for your next celebration. Dine in, take out, or delivery. Come see what's new at Tony's Pizzeria Restaurant and Grill, 10 East Salisbury Street in Williamsport.
Premier Martial Arts offers the best fitness fusion. Get Premier results with Premier Martial Arts.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with basketball now, and it's been a season of firsts at St. Maria Goretti. First time in 10 years that they won the MAIT championship. First time in 27 tries they defeated Mount St. Joseph, and on Saturday, the first time they won the IPSL championship. And joining me is first year head coach Matt Miller. Welcome to the show, Coach. Glad to have you here, and give me a little synopsis of how this first year has played out for you.
It's been a wild month for us, and we got off to a hot start. I've really just got to know the guys the end of August into September, October. So, I had a good fall with them. I really get to know each other and took over after a great coach. Amit Rayfield did an excellent job really building the program, getting it where it needed to be. And, with his unexpected departure, I think us having a good relationship really helped bridge that gap. And, fortunately, the rest of the staff stayed along, and, the kids have been very resilient, just dealing with all, last-minute changes, and just, dealing with adversity in general. We started off 11-1, and we get into January, and we had some key injuries and kids getting sick, and lost some close games, but it was nice to be able to bounce back this past weekend against St. James. So it's, we've had our bumps, but I think we have a resilient group, and I've really enjoyed coaching here so far.
Yeah, 15-6 record to this point. As I mentioned, that IPSL championship, as you alluded to, 61-60 thriller against St. James, a game where your guys were down 10 at one point. So you talk about that resilience, and I know in the newspaper, Coach Preet of St. James talked about his guy, Justin Robinson, but Emeka Akaya really took that game over, I think, in the third quarter for St. Maria Goretti, and made a big difference in that game. But you also talk about, the injuries, getting Dante Dolman back. That was huge. How much did this game mean to your team? Because I know there are bigger prizes out there, but still, a championship game has to be big, especially against a county team like St. James.
Absolutely. I think it takes a lot of character to win a championship, and obviously that could have gone either way. I mean, St. James competed. They crushed us on the glass. But we've really gone kind of how Emeka's gone this year. He started, when we started off 11-1, Emeka was playing really good basketball. And having Dante Dolman out for a little bit is kind of handicapped us. But other guys have learned to step up, and I think that's helped us grow as a group. But Emeka just stepping up and, being the player that he is, giving us 24, really helped. I mean, he was battling on the glass, yeah. Even though he got beat there, he was battling to the rim, he was hitting jumpers, and he just had a big game for an experienced player. And we were happy to see him have that result, because it's been a few games since he's had that kind of result, and I think he really willed that one out for us.
How encouraging is it to see your team come back from that deficit in the game and then kind of grind it out at the end, hitting the big free throws to win? And Toby Christensen, yes, he's a senior, but hadn't scored a point in the game to that juncture. So how does that kind of set your team up going forward?
Well, the nice thing is we have about 7 guys that can score double digits. And one night it's Toby's night, another night it's Emeka's night, another night it could be Chandler Penn off the bench, and he's been recently starting. Connor Zaniach, Dante, Elijah. I mean, our whole group has really stepped up and had their night. So, the way we share the basketball, I don't really think it matters who scores, just as long as somebody does. Yeah. But collectively, I mean, we've guarded pretty well this year. And I think a lot of that had to do with depth. And so we've had to try to adjust and find other ways to win as of recent. But no, I think the team's character has really shown up in the fact that we're able to grind out wins when we're down double digits. We've shown the ability to make runs. We've also shown the ability to give up runs. So I still think we have room for growth, room for improvement. I don't think you look at the stat sheet and say, hey, we out-rebounded them, we shot free throws better than St. James did. I think we still have room for growth. So hopefully with these next couple weeks, moving into the Baltimore Catholic League playoffs, we can find a way to improve.
How would you describe your coaching style? Because you're a very hands-on coach. You're into the game. You're not a guy who's just going to sit there on the bench. You're going to bark out instructions throughout. You're going to be into the game. How do you describe your style?
Well, I like to be heard, and I think our gym gets a little loud sometimes. So I try my best to use signals, and however you got to use your voice as well. And it's nice having some quality guards, and Elijah Clarence and Dante Dolman who can really communicate with the rest of everybody. We're still working on that. However, I am a little animated. I like to be enthusiastic, and I think the guys feed off that a little bit. I think there's a time and place to really pick them up, but in the heat of the moment, we might be changing defenses and making different calls, making adjustments. And in high school basketball, you can see so many different styles, and each team could play a zone or a box and one. They can man, they can press you. You see a lot more than you do in the college level. So you got to be prepared, and you really have to be in tune with what's going on.
Let's do a little word association here, if you don't mind. I'll just throw out a player's name, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Emeka Akaya.
Tough, gritty, slashing wing.
Dante Dolman.
Toughness.
Toughness?
Yeah.
Toby Christensen.
Man, he's skilled.
Chandler Penn, a guy who loved to play against St. James, really shooting the three well against them, even drew up a play for him late in the game and knocked down that corner three. Chandler Penn, who's just a sophomore, by the way.
I'll shoot her.
Yeah, no question about that. And Elijah Clarence, who I think is one of the more talented sophomores that you would say, especially athletically.
Yeah, I'd say talented, youthful.
Yeah, no question. I'm telling you, you definitely have a great roster there. I mean, what's the transition like for you coming from being an assistant coach at Shepherd now to a head coach? Obviously, you've been a head coach before on the high school level, but now at Goretti.
I think it's been great. I learned a lot under Justin Amick, our head coach at Shepherd, and I think he's in a situation where the league is so talented and it's so challenging to win every single night, where you have to find ways and you have to find a style that your team buys into, and that you can find your niche. You have to find a way, not necessarily to always be better, but you got to be different in order to be better.
Right.
And I think Goretti playing in the Baltimore Catholic League and having opponents like St. James, where there's going to be a lot of talent on the floor, a lot of size, athleticism, you have to find a way not only to try to be better, but you got to find a way to be different. And I think that was one of the biggest things, kind of helped me adjust to being in Goretti.
Well, 10 games remaining between now and the beginning of the BCL tourney on February 20th. Wish you the best of luck all throughout the rest of the season, Coach, and thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I will be back right after this. Coach Kevin Murphy of the Williamsport Lady Wildcats joins me in just a moment.
Since 1963, you've been trusting the folks at Hagerstown Floors. It's still a family-owned and operated business featuring a variety of high-quality flooring choices for your home, like carpet, ceramic, hardwood, vinyl, and we offer floor sanding and refinishing for your existing hardwoods. And you'll find us stocked warehouse, full of flooring options for do-it-yourselfers, or take advantage of our in-house installers for expert installation. Hagerstown Floors on Virginia Avenue in Hagerstown, the trusted name in flooring since 1963.
If there's one thing my dad taught me, when life doesn't go exactly how you plan, keep it simple. Sometimes a few curveballs are thrown your way. With one visit to Bank of Charlestown, they helped me map out a strategy to start the next chapter of my life. Even though I work with my hands, I still work with people. That's what BCT does best. They're my trusted advisor for all the details and whatever comes next.
From home improvement loans and mortgages to business lines of credit, find out what a partnership with BCT can do for you. BCT, we simplify your financial life. Now in Hagerstown.
Welcome back to the show. We continue now with girls basketball. Williamsport head coach Kevin Murphy joins me off of a big win on Monday night. Coach, congratulations on that, 40-32 over Boonesboro, and a very important game in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the season not over just because you get this win, but you sweep the season series with Boonesboro, still unbeaten in the MVAL Antietam. Just how important is that for this team?
It was extremely important. Last night, we knew they were going to come at us pretty hard, being on their home floor, and the fact that we had given them their only loss and that we were one game up on in the conference. And one of our goals before the year started was to win the MVAL or be contending for it at this time of year. So going on the road, getting a tough win, gutting it out. We didn't play our best, but give credit to Boonesboro. They made us play that way. So it was a tough win on the road.
Well, you hold them to 32 points in the game. Half of those points came from the free throw line, and in the second half, hold them to just 12 points overall. What was working defensively in that second half? Because that was just a lockdown job.
Well, I challenged the kids at halftime. We didn't meet their effort in the first quarter, and I thought that was not good on our part. And I said we got to meet their effort in the second half and challenge them to play better defense. With playing defense, we switched up a little zone, a little man. I think at times it kind of messed with their continuity, and so I think that was a big part of it. And one of the biggest parts of it was a kid like Kate Wade, who usually is one of our leading scorers. She had 7 points last night, but she did a lot of little things that go unnoticed. She had 10 rebounds. I don't even know if she's pushing 5'5". But her effort in the second half as a leader, she was under control when we got a lead. She didn't force it. She picked up a charge, got some steals. She did a lot of little things, and she's become more of a complete player for us, and that was big for last night.
I thought a pivotal point in the game was right there at the end of the first half. Boonesboro has a 20-16 lead. They have the ball with 31 seconds to go and ostensibly can play for the final shot of the first half, wind up turning the ball over to your team with 2.2 seconds to go, have to go the length of the court, or so it would appear, get the ball into Erin McVicker, who in turn gets it to Kate Wade just inside half court, drills a shot from about 40 feet out, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game at halftime. How big a turn was that so far as momentum is concerned?
Huge turn of momentum. And it's funny because there's not really a play call for that. They know what the job is in the half. Kate has hit that before. She hit that a couple times last year, once after the buzzer and once right before the buzzer, the same kind of set. So our kids know, that Erin knows and Kate knows where to go. If it's open, we're going to throw it to her. And the biggest thing was hitting that shot at halftime kind of made our kids relax. And you saw them smile at the end of the half. They were a little tense early, and it relaxed us. And we came out in the second half, and I saw that same intensity that we saw a lot of the games we played this year.
Speaking of intensity, Olivia Coleman, who doesn't seem to outwardly show a lot of emotion, got off to a good start in the game with 6 points in the first quarter, had 8 points by halftime, but her defense just seemed to be huge. How do you explain the way that she played? Obviously, she's 6'2", has a long wingspan, but 7 blocks in the game.
She's one of those kids that can do that every game. One of those things that I get on her a lot about. She'll kind of let sometimes the game come too much to her. She can control the paint every game if she really wanted to. And she's really improving in so many facets of the game. Her post moves are becoming varied. If you watch some of the game last night, she made left-handed spin in the lane and finished with her left hand on one attempt. She's really trying to do different things and not becoming the same turn off her left shoulder and score. And then on the defensive end, she's getting better about helping, seeing kids come down the middle lane and controlling the paint. And actually, a lot of the blocks she had was when she was coming off a help defense. It wasn't off the girl she was guarding.
One of the points that I made to Coach Gerber during the game was that Williamsport had just lost to St. Maria Goretti the previous week, and that could have been a real deflating loss in a way. Now you come back and you beat Smithsburg pretty handily. Of course, their best player was injured early in that game, so that sort of swung things in your favor a little bit. But how big is it to kind of bounce back, because you get 2 big games in a very short span there and really didn't have an opportunity to prepare for Boonesboro with a practice on Friday. So just how big is this for your team going forward?
It's huge. We didn't practice Saturday, and to prepare for a team like Boonesboro, you need at least a practice because they do so many different things defensively and offensively. But I thought the Goretti game, what it did, it kind of got us refocused. Our kids did not meet the challenge that night, and I thought after that, our practices were better. We were ready to play Friday against Smithsburg, and it kind of refocused us. And in some ways, sometimes you learn more about yourselves in a loss than you do a win. And the Goretti game was definitely that case. We handled the pressure last night. Goretti played the same kind of a 2-2-1 press that Boonesboro did, and we had problems with it. But last night, we didn't have any problems with it at all.
I think it's crazy when you look inside some of the Williamsport numbers this year, especially looking at the record now with 12 victories. But this is a team that is now 11-1 when holding teams to 44 points or less. And if you say, well, 44 points or less, you should win those games. But that is just getting the job done consistently defensively. Everything seems to start with that. as the season goes along, you think, how in the world can you sustain that kind of defensive effort? But this is a team that's been able to do it. Will that be the key to the success for the rest of the season, especially as you continue on in a region that is so difficult?
Absolutely. Our calling card is defense. We work on it every day. We work on some sort of man-to-man defensive principles every day. So the kids have bought into that. They understand that. They know what our record is when we hold teams under certain field goal percentages and certain amount of points. The biggest adjustment our kids are having this year is now we're the hunted. You know, last year we snuck up on everybody. This year everybody gives us their best shot. And so our kids are trying to understand and meet that challenge early in a game. And so defensively is where you can actually meet that challenge, because it's a lot about effort and attitude. And so we did a really good job the last month or so, and we got to continue to get better with it defensively.
Well, Coach, thanks for being here. Again, congratulations on that win. And the quest continues for the MVAL Antietam Championship. Not over yet by any means, and I know you'll emphasize that to the team, always
Absolutely.
one game at a time. But again, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. I've got a little more girls basketball, plus some wrestling and indoor track and field before we're through in just a moment.
Winter is here, and despite the weather, it's still a great time for helping others. Driving. And just plain wearing shorts, tank tops, and sneakers. It's high school basketball season, and Antietam Cable proudly brings you coverage of county matchups throughout January and February. Watch the Williamsport Lady Wildcats take on the Boonesboro Lady Warriors Wednesday, January 28th through Sunday, February 1st at the times listed on your screen. And keep up with the county's high school sports season each week on Inside Sports on WCL TV 30.
Welcome back to Inside Sports, and more basketball now in the IPSL Girls Championship game. St. Maria Goretti went shooting for its 16th consecutive victory, while at the same time seeking to avenge one of its 3 defeats on Saturday against 18-1 St. John's Catholic Prep. Even without both their starting point guard and their second leading scorer, the Gales stayed within striking distance and trailed just 35-30 heading to the fourth quarter. Points were at a premium in the final period, with the teams combining for just 12. Goretti twice held 1-point leads in the final 2:24, but it was St. John's whose fourth and final point of the period put the Vikings up 1 with 10 seconds remaining. The Gales had one last opportunity, but when the game's leading scorer, Beverly Coombe, couldn't add to her 15-point afternoon, St. John's escaped with a 39-38 championship win, a gut-wrenching result for a Goretti team that had pointed for this game. The loss drops the Gales to 16-4 overall. In wrestling, the Boonesboro program made history twice in the last week and a half. First, Dalton Hawkins became the school's all-time win leader, securing his 118th career victory January 17th at the Catoctin Duels. Then, the Warriors as a team went to Cumberland last Thursday and came back with a 54-24 win, marking the first time ever that Boonesboro has prevailed on the mat against Fort Hill. The ever-improving Warriors are now 10-13 in dual meets this season. The North Hagerstown Hubs were, and perhaps by February 6th, they still will be undefeated. As for right now, as reported in the Herald Mail last week, they are 12-8. That's a far cry from the 20-0 record with which North started the week. Due to a clerical error, the equivalent of keying in the wrong number for a wrestler on the MPSSAA wrestling team weight chart, the Hubs have been forced to forfeit their first 8 matches of the season, ones in which they won by no less than 25 points and by as many as 84. Were a wrestler to lose a bout to another wrestler, the most points he could cost his team is 6. So even adding 6 points to any of their opponent's scores and subtracting 6 from North's, there would be no change in the result. That's part of the argument Hubs head coach Greg Slick and County Supervisor of Athletics Eric Michael will make at an appeal hearing on February 4th. Additionally, the wrestler whose weight was entered incorrectly never wrestled below his minimum weight, only above it, thereby not creating a competitive advantage. Because of that, Michael told me this week that it's unclear whether any rule was truly broken. It will actually come down to the interpretation of the language in the rule book and how the MPSSAA chooses to apply it. North Hagerstown will continue to wrestle as usual and will anxiously await the results of the appeal, expected to come back on February the 6th. Speaking of anticipation, the time is finally here this Friday for indoor track and field athletes from Clear Spring, Hancock, and Smithsburg. The 1A West Region Championship meet that will either punch tickets to or deny them from going to the state championships on February 16th will take place starting at 4 o'clock at HCC. The Smithsburg boys are the defending region champs, while the Leopard girls were last year's runners-up. Good luck to all on their quest to qualify for Landover. Show and tell from Friday Front and Center next week. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with that and much more next time on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.